This is my first podcast of many that will be coming. I will be speaking with different people about different subjects. Everything will be thought-provoking. Nothing will be about celebrity gossip or YouTube streets or anything like that. This is real life, real stuff. Voice for the voiceless. And it's also, if people have a story that they want to tell, I want to be able to be their voice and speak for them. Phone today. And Tina was in a 15-year marriage with her husband, who then left her for a man. So she is here to tell us about her story and maybe some of the warning signs that other women should look out for as far as when they are in a relationship. So, Tina, are you there?
Yes, I
am. Okay. How are you doing today, by the way?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm glad that you decided to do this with me. I know it wasn't easy. We had a couple conversations back and forth and emails. And, you know, I give you a lot of credit for coming through with this, because a lot of women wouldn't want to admit that they lost their husband, especially losing their husband to a man. So before...
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So before the marriage of 15 years, how long did you and your husband date, approximately, if you can remember?
Well, we dated for 2 years, and it was really good. I mean, you know, he was a gentleman. You know, he pursued me, and we went out to eat, and as we got to know each other a little better, you know, I noticed that he did all the things I like. He pulled out my chair and made sure I ate what I wanted on my menu, and, you know, was just very attentive to my needs. I just thought that he was the one for me.
Right. So that's why you guys proceeded with the marriage. Did your family support the marriage?
That's the thing. My family was very supportive of the marriage. They were more or less telling me, well, when's the date? When's the date? You know, I was like, I don't know. I think he's the one. You know.
With his family as well?
His family was a little different, and I found that odd. They seemed to be surprised that he found a soulmate so early. And was he sure that's what he wanted to do? So it made me think that they didn't like me, or they didn't want me to be with him. But eventually they got on board.
Right. So initially the family had some reservations, but after time, of course, and in 15 years. Now, did you all conceive any children? Did you have any children together?
No, we did not. We did not have any children. We could not conceive. But he brought his little nephews over to play a lot, so there was children's laughter.
Okay. Do you think that not having children affected your marriage any kind of way, or do you think it just, you know, and I'm only asking these questions because I just want to see, I know sometimes people will experience different things. Some people don't want to have children, and it's not a problem. Some men really want to have their sons, and it, you know, interferes with their marriage or relationship. So I'm just wondering if you saw any signs of, or any issues with you not having children with him.
Well, we went to a fertility doctor, and they told me that nothing was wrong with me and I could conceive. But when it came to him, they were saying that the sperm count was kind of low, and there were things that he needed to do to bring it up, but he wasn't willing to do those things. His mindset was, you're the woman, and you have the baby, so why do I have to do these things? So we just decided collectively that we just weren't going to do it.
Okay. Well, that's understandable. Okay, so now when it finally came down to him actually leaving you, because the way you sounded to me when we talked about it is that this came out of left field. You didn't really have any idea that you would come home and his stuff would be packed up and he was gone. I mean, you didn't see anything leading up to the point that his bags were packed. His stuff was slowly leaving out of the house. There was nothing leading up to the point of him being gone. No signs, no nothing. Like, looking back now today, Is there anything that he did at the end of the marriage of him leaving you that you would say, okay, that's a little bit odd, that's a little bit strange?
Well, he traveled for his job, so he always had a backpack.
Okay.
But I had noticed that was packing a little more than usual. And sometimes he'd come back with the bag, sometimes he didn't. And I was always able to reach him while he was doing business. And he was not returning my calls. So I was listening for a female in the background, just in case, he was using his business trip for an excuse. And I always heard a male in the background, so I figured, well, maybe he is really working. So
Right.
I just put that out of my head.
And that's understandable because, I mean, if I call my husband and I hear a guy in the background, I'm not thinking anything extra, so
Exactly.
Now, not to be too graphic, but when it came down to intimacy, did you see any changes from the time of you guys dating, marriage? Did anything switch up sexually? I mean, if you're with him, he's with you. I mean, you might get in a little mood, want to do something different every now and again, but did he just suddenly start doing things in a different way where you're thinking to yourself, where did he learn that at? Where did he pick that up from?
The first thing I noticed is that he did not initiate sex. And when he did, it would be times that he knew I could not give it to him because I had to take care of that priority in front of me.
Right.
So he would get into a mood and then he would just leave. I'm figuring he'll be back soon. He's just going off steam. I've never been married before, so when he tell a guy to walk away, I think that's what he's supposed to do, walk away. But I just noticed that he was taking more bags each time that he goes, and I wasn't seeing those bags back. Now, when it came down to when we finally did get intimate, he asked me to do anal. He didn't ask me. He just started doing it. And
Wow.
I asked him, well, what are you doing? He says, making love to you. And I'm like, we've never done that before. And I told you when we were dating, I don't do anal sex. He's like, well, you just don't know how to do it. I have to show you. And I actually had to just get up and leave because he was going to do it, whether I agreed to it or not.
Yeah, and that's something you can't,
apology.
not to cut you off, but that's something you can't really just jump into without preparation, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah. And so during that time, did you think in the back of your mind, like, what is this all about? Or did you just figure, well, because I know being in a marriage, you want to try different things. So did you just think this is just something new he wanted to try? You didn't.
What it did was it made me angry because I had already set that boundary. And for him to just assume that's what I wanted, and we had already set that boundary, it sent a flag off to me that said, if he's cheating on me, that's what she likes to do. She likes anal. So I started me thinking he was cheating with a female.
Right. Okay. Now, this is the one thing I want to jump to this because I think a lot of people will, they tend to do this when they have issues within the marriage. Now, you decided to reach out to your pastor and tell him some of the issues that you were having in your marriage. And the pastor gave you and your husband counseling and stuff like that. And your husband willingly, did go to the sessions and stuff like that. So, to just jump board, how did it get to the point that you found out that your husband was sleeping with the pastor?
Well, I noticed that we started counseling sessions together. Then the pastor and my husband wanted counseling sessions with just the two. And they would tell me that I could come by weekly. And before I knew it, I wasn't coming at all. And a month had went by. So I asked him, well, when am I coming back to the sessions? He says, well, you're not coming back to the sessions. As a matter of fact.
Right. Now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. he said, I don't want to be with you anymore. I asked him why. I said, we're not even finished with the sessions. I mean, I told you if that's really what you wanted to do, I would really think about it, but I just wasn't ready. He goes, no, I just don't want to be with you anymore. I've found someone, and I'm going to be with them.
And after 17 years, I know that had to be devastating.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the rest of my words came after I collapsed on my couch. Like, you leaving me? And when I asked him, well, who is she? I want to know who she is. I want to talk to her. How long have y'all been seeing each other?
Right.
I needed something to drink for a second. He said, how long have you been seeing each other? He said, well, they met 2 years ago. And since they met, they've been seeing each other ever since. So I'm like, I've been with you 17 years in total. You met this person 2 years ago. So you've been seeing this person while we were married. And he says, yes. So I said, okay, we all going to have to meet. I need to meet her.
Wow. So at this point, you're still thinking that he's having an affair with a woman, not thinking that any way he's gay, bisexual, whatever, nothing to do with a man. You're still thinking this is a woman.
Never once crossed my mind that he was gay or bisexual or anything, because I kept saying I wanted to see her. I want to meet her. And he never said him.
Right.
So when we met, he came in, and he came in with the pastor. And I'm thinking, we're going to sit down and we're going to counsel about this because of what he said to me. Well, the pastor sat down, and I addressed him, and he said, well, this is what we need to talk about. So they both held hands.
Oh my God. I think I would have died right there. Or killed somebody, one or the other.
There was a lump in my throat. My mouth was wide open, like, what? And I'm like, excuse me, Pastor, is there something that you guys want to tell me? And I'm still looking at them holding hands. But what was different about the way they held hands, the pastor was stroking his hand with one finger.
Wow.
That's what made me say, do you need to talk to me about something? Well, he said that he was in a relationship with the pastor for the past 2 years. And he's leaving me for the pastor.
Wow. And I know that had to feel like betrayal because you had been already confiding in the pastor everything that was going on within your marriage. And when you told the pastor that you and your husband really weren't being sexually active, he didn't seem to have a problem with that. He didn't seem to sympathize with you or try to get your husband, man to man, saying, well, a woman has needs as well. So that never struck to be odd to you that the pastor didn't seem to be pushing him to, because I know some pastors, now some churches, I know churches is not all about sex. I know some churches for married couples, they do retreats and things like that. So the pastor never suggested that you guys go on a retreat or a vacation or nothing of that nature?
No, the pastor insisted that we come and share it with him. So to me, I felt violated and betrayed not only by my husband, but by my pastor, because he heard all the weak links and he cashed in on those weak links.
Right.
And he and my husband fell in love through those counseling sessions, and they had started having sex. So when I couldn't go, when it wasn't my turn to go to the counseling session, that's how they were together. And he feels like that's really what he wants now in his life. He didn't know before, now he does. And the pastor was giving him ideas of property, children, and I said, no, my attorney will do that. So I got up and I left.
And I do want to just say for the people who might be listening in that before the pastor and the husband came in and actually confessed and told you that what the situation was, the pastor had stepped down at church. So by the pastor stepping down, you're not thinking anything about it. You're just thinking that he's moving on to do other things. You're just thinking of him more as a family friend, a pastor, a extended part of your family. You're not even thinking it has anything to do at all about your
Right.
marriage. So I just want people listening in to know that when her husband and the pastor came over, at this point, the pastor has stepped down on his position. So now that her husband and the pastor have gone on to be together in a relationship, he leaves her behind with a mortgage, car note, all of these things, no money, no nothing. You have to go through your lawyer, and he wasn't making things easy for you, even though you guys had 17 years invested. So what I want to say to you is, what signs would you tell other women to look out for with their husbands, as far as like maybe if they're cheating, or they might be on the down low, or even just with another woman, even if they've been in a long-term marriage? Do you have any suggestions, anything that you would want to warn women to look out for?
I thought I did, but what comes to mind right now is this man says that he loves you. He took vows with you, but when he sees you're sick or you're not feeling well, he insists on having sex with you. That's a red flag. When it comes to trying to conceive a child, my body can. Because of his count, he couldn't, and he refused to do the things that he could do to make us a family, so that I could conceive. That was another red flag. Like, why wouldn't you want to do everything you can do so this baby, we can have this baby? And the last thing is, when you have a man that travels for work, and he used to pack a bag to travel for work, now he's packing bags. And when you call to the hotel he's supposed to be at, it's the wrong hotel. You call his cell phone, he answers it 4 hours later. Those things just made me feel that he wasn't being honest with me. And if he wasn't being honest with me with that, then he may be cheating. And in my case, it turned out to be true.
Right. And do you think going forward, since this has happened, because this has been some time now, and you said you'll never get married again, you'll never, ever, 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 no matter what, ever get married again, could you ever trust another man? Because I know you said you have went on dates, but you have never really been serious with another man since your husband. Do you think that'll ever change in time? Do you think you can ever learn to love and trust a man again?
I know that the type of love that I put into my marriage, I could not put it into another man, because I feel like the love I put into him, he stole from me. I wanted to give love. He stole it. And I say he stole it because he should have given me a choice. If he had tendencies that he wanted to be with a man, he should have told me before he made me his wife. So that's going to cause some major trust issues. I try to date where I know where I am. I'm in control of whether I want to leave or not. And it just makes things a little difficult, a little awkward, but I feel safe. I have to feel safe. But then you have those dates where they make you feel so safe and so sweet, and you have no idea who that person is. So I don't put a lot of trust in my dating. I trust in God. I pray on it. And then, what happens is going to happen. But most definitely, when it's time for me to go, I will be able to get up and go.
Do you think you would have been a little bit less angry had he been honest with you? Had he told you during the marriage that he was having these feelings towards men, would you have been more open or accepting to it? Or do you think it's the fact that he did everything behind your back, the sneakiness of it?
I think that, Did you say during the marriage?
Yeah, during the marriage, as he was sleeping around with the pastor, had he came to you first, or before he got involved with the pastor, had he told you, you know, hey, I'm starting to feel like maybe I'm attracted to men, I'm having these feelings or these thoughts, would you be more accepting, not accepting, but would you be more forgiving? Or do you think that you're more hurt because you were lied to and everything was done behind your back and you didn't know anything about it? And the fact that the pastor was coming to your house and you're going to the church and you're seeing them, do you think it's more of the lies that hurt, or do you think it's just the whole situation? It wouldn't have made a difference. Like, would it had made a difference had your husband told you, this is what's going on, this is how I'm feeling, I no longer want to be with you? Or it just, you know what I mean?
If he had told me during a marriage that he was attracted to men and he was interested in being with men, I would have asked him, have you ever been with a man before? That would let me know that you've done this before, so you should have told me this. Not you're just starting to be attracted to men. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So had he told me this before the marriage, I would have said, I do not want to marry a bisexual man. I cannot compete with that.
Right.
We can still be friends, you know. It won't be a sexual relationship. And not that I have a problem with bisexual men. I feel that I should have a choice in the matter. And what hurt me the most between the pastor, but most of all my husband, because I made vows to him, that was for him to tell me, not the pastor.
Right.
And for the pastor to be in a position of leadership, and a couple is coming to you for marital advice, and you end up having sex with the husband. It was just betrayal all around. It was betrayal all around. You know, I'm leery of anyone who says that they're a pastor or anything like that. It's like it just seems like it's all over again. But the bottom line is, I was tricked. If he said he had those tendencies before, I would not have done it. I think he married me and then did it afterwards, or while he was dating me, he could have been with other men. I don't know. I'm really scrambled about it, but I'm glad we are divorced.
Oh, yes, and that is good that you can move on. And I hope that, you know, even though you said you don't ever want to be married again, I hope that in due time you're able to trust and love someone. You know, because I know that has to be really hard. You know, with someone for 17 years, that's almost like a lifetime this day and age now with marriages. People getting divorced after a year or two. And now your husband did spend some time in prison prior to you all dating and everything, which was nothing major. It wasn't like he went out here and killed anybody, but he did spend some time in the prison system. So do you think that's where maybe he had already been doing some of this stuff beforehand and that the pastor wasn't the first time?
And see, I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't find out that he was in prison until after he got married. That was another detail that he left out.
Oh, wow.
And once everything came together, it made me think that it may have started there, or he had those feelings when he got in. But, you know, he really did play a good game. He really did represent himself as a man who wanted a wife and a family, a home life, a good job so he could provide for us. But that wasn't what he did. That was all a part of the lie. I don't think he intended on falling in love with me. I think he intended on having a long dating time while he had, you know, other people. But yeah.
This is gonna be my last
and me about it.
Okay, this is gonna be my last and final question. Does this make you feel any kind of way towards the LGBT community? Because I know they didn't do it to you. It's just what happened. So do you have any animosity? Because I had a live a couple of weeks ago, and there were a couple women in there who had the same situation as what you're talking about here today. But some of them said they're still friends with their ex-husband. and they still support the LGBT. Do you feel any kind of way towards the community? Um, do you feel like it's not their fault? It's not, no problem there, or do you feel like, how do you feel about that? Just the community in general.
At first, I hated them.
Mm-hmm.
I held them responsible for my husband being bisexual, and through proper counseling, I realized that it was my husband that I had a problem with. I never had a problem with people who were gay, lesbian, straight, bi. I never had any problem with them. So I had to treat them like an individual. They're not the ones who did it to me. It was my husband. And also, you have more gay and lesbian couples who are up front now than you did many years ago. So I respect that they're up front, and the person that they're with knows who they are and what to expect. I didn't know what to expect except for what he presented to me.
Right,
So
which was a big lie.
Right, and I did speak with a couple of my gay friends, and what they said was, you were a beard.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I said, what is a beard? It's like a gay man who has a wife. He even brought the little nephews over to play. So you could look good to the community, to the outside.
Right.
But the other side, you had to let that out. That's who you really were. And they told me that they believed that he got tired of pretending. So
right, and he wanted to just live his truth.
Have to tell me that.
Right. Wow. Ooh, this is a lot to take in. So I just want to thank you so much for being my first guest here on my podcast. And
my pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much. And people in the comments, you can go ahead, leave your comments down below if you can relate to the situation. What would you do if it was you? I know some women probably would try to kill a man. Some probably would try to go to court and take all his money. But I was even surprised to see that the judge wasn't even that favorable when you guys did go to court, as far as divorce. I mean, you had to lose your home, your car, and start all over again. So, leave your comments down below and be on the lookout for my next podcast.